What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of the Apple TV Plus original series, Dark Matter. This will follow the finale, which is called Entanglement, and is directed by Alik Sakharov. Okay, so whether this is a series or season finale is up in the air or debate. You can technically say this is a series finale. You could technically say this is a season finale based on where it leaves. But it's a pretty good episode. It's not the strongest of season finales or series finales that I've ever seen. But it's much better than stuff like Suspicion, which had a really terrible season finale or series finale. And this is basically the culmination of how destructive Jason 2 is as an individual, as a person, as a dimensional character. This is a episode that shows you kind of the ramifications of what he did and how he has to atone for that situation. So at this point, Jason 1 has finally, I'm assuming it's Jason 1, but technically, yes, Jason 1, our Jason, has finally gotten back with, of course, Daniella 1 and Charlie 1. And they're on the run from, of course, Jasons that are trying to go after him to retrieve Daniella and, of course, Charlie. And in the process of everything, you have to repair the damage that Jason 2 has done. So it's a really interesting way they start out this episode, which is kind of like, bam, this Jason who has a scar on his face and stuff like that, just is completely devastating and like beating up Jason 2, trying to get information about where Daniella and Jason 1 and Charlie have gone. Of course, he doesn't know because he was knocked out. And it leads to Jason 2 coming to the revelation, the realization that he made a mistake, a really big mistake, a multi-dimensional world impacting mistake where, as we start to learn, not only is there 6 Jasons, but there is a multitude upon multitude, almost like a civilization of Jasons that have now impeded upon Jason 1's world. But we've seen at this point that the Jasons that we've seen will go to any lengths to get their family back, to get Daniella and Charlie back. They will go to very vicious, very violent means. The Jason that has the scar and the stitches on his head is willing to kill to get back to the family. We know, of course, as we see later on, many other Jasons are willing to do that, but there's also Jasons. But anyways, so it's interesting to watch. As much as you come to hate Jason 2 for what he did, you understand that, like Nicolas Cage in The Family Man, which I've alluded to before, Jason 2's problem wasn't the fact that he created this box. It was the fact that once he entered the box and he saw what Jason 1 had, he realizes that, as I've said before, the small choices or the single life choices that we make affect how our future is going to play out. And that's exactly what Jason 2 has done here. He has basically manipulated the system. He has caused a rift in the world, caused a rift in dimensions, and he is allowed to get it out of control to the point where he no longer sees that he has done the right thing, and therefore when he is being beat up and so on and so forth, you see that once again you made that choice. You can't go back on that choice. There is no way of going back to the past. If you go back to the past, you can cause a butterfly effect, and that's exactly what happens here. Like I said just a couple seconds ago, it's not that I feel sorry for Jason 2, it's the realization that even myself, who could have made similar decisions or similar choices or just choices in general, have lead me to a point where I regret the things I've done, regret the things I've said and places I've been. Not necessarily like wanting to go into a box and change all of it, but maybe there was a girl that I liked I could have stayed with and had a relationship, had a family with, and Jason 2 makes some mistakes because it's a sci-fi show that's very heady of trying to change all that, and he ends up ruining the whole entire existence of the multidimensional aspect of what his life and what the life of Jason is. But as we see, when Jason 1, Charlie, and Daniella go to this house, this retreat, which of course is the young girl that we saw earlier in the season, there's repairing to be done because Daniella is so affected and so afflicted by what has happened that they have to like wrap it up. They have to tie the loose ends, add the band-aids, do whatever they need to do. And you start to realize why Jason 1 is so important to Daniella 1's character and the nature and her existence is because when he made that choice to be with her, to marry her, to have a kid with her, he did it in a way that creates a bond, creates a way that no other Jason, no other individual that of Jason Stout could ever replicate. There's no way to replicate that. There's that particular bond. There's that particular, as they talk about like atoms and microscopic beings and stuff like that. There's something that if you were to look at a microscopic level, there is atoms and tying and just all kinds of crazy things that attach these two together for this specific dimension. And it really is that strengthening of that bond, the fact that they find a way to work through it, they find a way to get through it, and they find a way to be the couple that they knew. She even talks about, she liked how Jason 2 was at the beginning, but then she started to realize that's not her Jason. That's not the one she, lives with, the one she loves. And it's a really powerful statement. It's a really powerful thing. And you see them make up, you see them have sex, and that's kind of, superfluous or whatever. But having the pancakes and having sit on the beach and talking, and, Jason finds the message board with all the other Jasons who are trying to get back to Charlie and, trying to get back to Daniella and trying to, have joint custody and have, murder the other Jasons to be with the other Jasons. It just shows you that the bond that, once again, the bond between Daniella 1 and Jason 1 have. These other Jasons, they have a bond, but it's just not this one. It's like a magnet. Like if they tried to be with Daniella, as Jason 2 has proved, they're going to, like, the traction is never going to be there. It's going to be like when the magnets are turned and they're like bounced off of one another. That's the kind of situation and sadness that this whole entire series has been kind of leading up to. But I really appreciate that stuff. I really like the fact that connection, that idea, that small piece. And when they talk about it, and they definitely talk about when they're in the room with Charlie and they're talking about this stuff, like the idea that the multi-dimensional, multi-world view is there, it's staring at you in the face, but because of the differences, and they don't specify it like directly, but you can tell the way they're leaning, which is what I talked about. They're there, like it's like a shadow ghost. It's like a shadow of something that's there that you'll never be able to see, but that inkling in your brain and that inkling of the idea of like how could you have changed something in particular is what they're leaning towards. And what I think this series has always been leaning towards is like you can search high and low for your perfect thing, but you'll never find it, because where you're at now is the perfect thing, which I know I've responded and like repeated several times, but that's the point of what I'm trying to make. But that in process leads to Blair basically being used by the scar-ridden Jason to basically track down where her car, which I guess is what they're using to go to this house. And of course Jason 2 shows up. Of course, as we see as the episode moves along, they're at this like really nice house, and other Jasons, of course, have figured out where they're at. So there's like this crazy scene of just like Jasons being murdered and being shot and so on and so forth. And Jason, of course, Jason 1 has to defend himself from another Jason who has a shotgun. And of course, Jason 2 shoots that Jason in the head. And that's when we get, the other Jason, the one that has the scar on his head, who they eventually run over, which is kind of funny. But Jason 2 basically at this point says, you guys need to go. What I did, I realized my mistake. I did it, and I regret every aspect of it. He's never going to forgive himself. He's not going to be able to make things right, but he's going to be able to allow them to move on and be together. Daniella 1 and of course Charlie 1 and of course Jason 1 and stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff that I appreciate, though I feel kind of wraps up a little too easy. And maybe it makes me feel like they're going to add another season. I don't think they're going to, but I think they could. And I think that idea just of Jason 2 trying to rectify his mistakes and how many Jasons are kind of out of this single stupid idea, stupid thing that he made, and how Jason 1, because of the idea of what the box is and how it multiplies the ideas of the multi-dimensional multiverse, and how the more and more it creates, the more and more problems it creates for the Jasons himself. You see, and when they listen to the recording in the car, you can tell that there's no stopping what's happening, but he's going to try and let them go off and find something that could be better for themselves. They had to leave the world behind, but maybe they'll go off and find something better. And then on top of that, he left a bag in the car that they take, that was his car, which is full of the Ampere things, the little vials. So therefore they can travel and find a place to be safe. What really is interesting, after they kill the scar-ridden Jason, when they run over him and stuff like that, is they find themselves in the warehouse with the box. They're now going to go find a different world, and you see all these Jasons everywhere in the box, or not in the box, but everywhere in this warehouse. So you think crap's going to run downhill, crap's going to be bad. But what you realize, and what comes to the realization, is Jason as an individual, especially the Jason that is trying to get back home to his family, now that he's connected back with his wife, these other Jasons want to be with her, but they realize that it's not their world. And this is something that Scar-Ridden Jason talks about, how his Amanda was killed, of course, in a different version of the reality of the Forest, where she was pinned down and killed. Well, we know the Jason that we went with, of course, she went off and did her own thing. And that's the same thing here. Like, all these Jasons can want to be with Daniella and Charlie, and maybe some version of Daniella and Charlie, but this is not their version, as we've seen throughout the entire season, as Jason 1 talks about, when he talks about how you met a Daniella that was happy and was single. But these are individuals that are like Jason 1, but just slightly different. And a certain version of Jason allows them to go into the box, makes everyone move. And it's a really sweet moment. It's a really melancholy moment. It's a really sad moment, because you realize like how just demented and insane and how crazy the whole situation has become. And it'll be interesting if they do another season, if they kind of like play into what exactly happened and how it happened. But I gotta say, like, it moved me a little bit. It really did. Like, watching, Charlie step into the box, watching then Daniella and Jason hold hands as they step into the box, watching them walk down the hallway and then open up a door to what I'm guessing maybe the same world that Amanda is in, maybe the same world that Ryan is in. Once Daniella and once Jason 1 and once Charlie step into this world, we don't see what world it is, but it has to be a world similar to what Ryan got stuck in, or what Amanda is in, because it feels so nice and ethereal, or however you say that word. Very kind of like a new change, a new life, a new way to do things. And that's why I like the little montage that they do, because Jason 2 sits on a beach realizing what he's done and having to deal with that situation. But then you see a Ryan who is working on some kind of vial. Maybe that's the Ryan that got stuck in the world. Maybe he's trying to find a way out. He's working on whatever chemical, whatever to make the Ampere stuff. We see, of course, Amanda in her world, and she goes to meet her friend. And here comes another Ryan that says, she's like, "Do I know you?" He's like, "I don't know, but I'm here." So that's interesting. So I don't know if that's Ryan from our world. It's very vague on who exactly what Ryan, what is not. But then we get the Leighton that was from, I'm assuming, Jason's world, Jason 1's world, who is still traveling, is still happy. We of course get that Blair version that we've seen, who has all like the mechanical bees or whatever, and she decides to go into the box and try to find her world, or whatever, the original world that she came from. It's a way to wrap up the series showing these characters. I'm still a little disappointed that the Leighton who we saw bloodied, who we saw at the very end of like episode 3 or 4, what has happened to him? Is he officially dead? Like, is this the showing that he's dead? Because they didn't use him very well, to be fairly honest. I understand the box is a problem. That's a plot string or plot theory or plot idea that was just kind of thrown away. And the other Leighton, I guess the other Leighton, you can kind of say whatever. But these other stories, the Amanda and the Blair and, I guess the Leighton and the Ryan, at least they're getting story wrap-ups, if it is the end of this whole entire series, that allows it to kind of conclude, they're going to try and find a way to get through it. But that Leighton doesn't get any conclusion, and that's a problem. And everybody else gets a conclusion. And it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, it definitely could use another season to wrap up if they only went 2 seasons, or if they went more. I mean, I guess that'd be fine, but I could see this as like a 2 season type of series, because maybe the wanting more thing is where they're leaning at. We always want more that we don't get, but I think this season or this series has done enough that warrants it to do another season, so we can get true conclusions to Ryan's character, true conclusions to Blair's character. We can kind of wrap up Amanda, the Alicia Braga character. I think she can kind of be off for the rest of the series. But then you can have like, Jason 2 and trying to fix that problem and how it affects like all the other Jasons. And there's a lot you could wrap up, and a lot you could like go into detail and go into kind of specifics to finish out the story. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I at this point with TV series, you never know where it's going to lean. Apple TV has been a lot better about continuing franchises, especially stuff like Severance that did very well. And I think this series is popular enough that it could use another season, but I've been wrong in the past. So there you go. But to conclude my final thoughts on the series, I think it's a pretty strong series. I think it was fun to watch. I think it was entertaining. I think it stumbled in a couple of spots. I made mistakes in a couple of spots, and I admit to that. But I think it's a series that really attempted to be interesting and unique and thought-provoking, and it tried, though it failed sometimes, to be cohesive. I think the glue does start to kind of fall apart, especially closer to the end when it starts introducing the multifaceted Jasons. And I think it's a series that will be remembered as something highly ambitious, but not necessarily completing on a 100% positive note. Once again, I still enjoy these types of series, enjoy these types of shows, because I like creativity, I like ambition, I like series that take chances, and for better or worse, if it succeeds or it does not, at least they tried. I love these types of series more than the we're gonna play it safe type of series. That's why I like Lost. I'll admit it. I love Lost. I love every facet of it because it took chances. It wasn't entirely successful, but it was ambitious and it worked for most of the time. And yeah, I think that's what Dark Matter did, and I think that's why I really, really enjoyed the series. This episode, Entanglement, I'm going to give let's say an 8.5 out of 10, because I think if it continues on, sure, well, maybe I'll change my mind on the score, but I think it's a great, or not great, it's a good ending, not a perfect ending, but I think it's successful in what it tries to do. So 8.5 out of 10, I feel, is a well-to-do score. I don't really do averages. I mean, I'd have to go back and watch every episode to see what my scores were, but if I were to guess, it would probably be like a 8.25 or something like that out of 10 for the entire series or season, depending on how they handle it. And I think it's still worth watching. I really do. So overall, yeah, that's the end of Dark Matter for at least the foreseeable future. So there you go. Anyways, without further ado, thank you so much for following me on this road journey, or this journey towards Dark Matter. I hope you enjoyed it. I know, comments below were, what they were, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. I actually, out of all the TV shows I've reviewed, this has been one of the most enjoyable outside of like Severance and stuff like that. So yeah, there you go. That's my take on not only the season of Dark Matter, but episode 9, which is called Entanglement. And yeah, there you go. But anyways, comments below. What do you think of the entire season? What do you think it could lead if they do a second season? What did you think of this episode? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Was there things that you found interesting? All that good stuff. Whatever you want to comment, just let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you so much. If you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button, and we'll see you guys for the next series. Peace out, guys.